Okay, so we just talked about teaching piano technique, and it was a lot of information. So much for my goal of getting that video to be shorter. I'm sorry. All right, so we're going to just dive right into it. So practicing. I want you to write this statement down. The slower we practice, the faster we learn. So practicing is a huge topic when you're dealing with students and teaching them. Practicing is the most important part of music because it is where you see progress. So make sure you write that down. Practicing is the most important part of music because it is where you see progress. Teach your students how to be their own teacher. That means that you don't want to coddle them. When you have a lesson with them, it is your job to show them how their practice should go by verbally telling them and also guiding them through their lesson book and through all their other books and their music and showing them how they can take music of their own and learn it on their own. So they need to become teachers, they're students, but they need to become teachers of themselves. So number one, questions and tips for teachers. Underneath that, go ahead and write, define ways to make practicing fun. All right, so practicing is not everybody's favorite thing to do, right? And it might be some people's favorite thing to do because they enjoy it, which is great, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a student that doesn't necessarily want to practice. They enjoy playing the piano for you, but at home, they don't want to practice. So here are some tips. Have them think while they practice instead of just going through the motions and getting their books out and just playing through their songs. Okay, I practice. Have them think about it. And you can really, you can use stories, you can use visuals, you can use all kinds of different things to help them to enjoy it and to see it in a different way. So something to think about or something to do is just section off the music so that it's not just mindless repetition. And even just say the song is, I don't know, about a monkey or something, monkey in the tree. And, you could kind of tease them a little bit and say, I want you to try to play like a jumping monkey in the tree. However the song sounds, or sometimes it might be a dinosaur song and just think about how big the dinosaur is. And that might make them enjoy the music because they're creating these sounds with their brain, with their hands. And that is very liberating for little kids, for anybody really. It's very exciting. I can create this, I can see this and create it. So really try to help them through that. So underneath this, questions to ask. When a student comes to you during their lesson, you can ask them, how did your practice go? They usually will say, good. Yeah, and you kind of move on. You can ask them, what did you practice this week? It really does make them answer. Sometimes they'll just be like, Another good thing to ask is, what was your favorite song? And a lot of younger kids will tell you, but if they're a little bit older, they might be like, I don't know, And I'm like, well, you have to have a favorite. Come on. What did you like? You practiced this. I didn't. What did you like the most out of it? And they're like, oh, they're fine. So that is a little bit more of an apathetic student. So you do want to try to pull something out of them because they need to be able to own it. They need to be able to make it their own. In order for them to really achieve a good practice, they need to think about it and they need to own it. Another tip is record their first lesson and their last lesson. And that way you could show them at the end of the year, look, this is what you were playing before. Look at what you're playing now. And that's really encouraging for them. The only way you could have gotten there is through practicing. And then also students need time for creativity. So you don't want your entire lesson to be all reading music and no creativity. We talked about improvisation before and being creative and inspiration, try and inspire them. Try to find out what songs they like and what they would like to play. That might be a little bit difficult for a super young student, like a 4 and 5 year old. They might just be like, I don't know. Or they might really love Star Wars or something. So you could kind of use some supplemental music to help them. And always tell them ahead of time and be specific. All right, so tell them ahead of time of what you want them to practice and how long you want them to practice, and be very specific about that. So if you have a 5-year-old, and my goal would be to get them to practice at least, if they're very, very early beginner, I would have them practice at least 20 minutes 5 days a week, at least. Working up to 30 minutes. So just because a young 5-year-old is not going to have the attention span to sit there and practice for 30 minutes. They're just not. If you can get them there for 15, that's probably good enough. But I figure 5 days a week is giving them a sequential practice, and that's your goal. If they cram it all into one day or 2 days, they're probably not going to show as much progress. Your goal is to get them to practice for a duration of time. That way you can see an improvement. So if you have a young 5-year-old and they, if you just say, okay, practice your songs this week, but you don't tell them, I need you to get 5 days in, get 5 stickers on your chart or whatever, and you need to practice all of your songs 4 times. And that will probably add up to be, 20 minutes or so. Kids really like goals. And that's something to keep in mind. Practicing is very goal oriented. Make it a challenge for them, but also make it achievable so that they are like, okay, I'm going to do this. And little young children really enjoy that. You can also get charts, and we'll go over more of that practical stuff later, but this is just some things to think about as you're going through these teaching times with your students. Okay, so number 2, first we had questions and tips for teachers, and then number 2, we have steps for at-home practice. All right, so if they're having trouble practicing at home, like you've been teaching them for 3 weeks and they haven't practiced like maybe once or twice out of those 3 weeks, which is not very good. You need to figure out what that problem is. Is it the routine? Are they discouraged? So find out what that problem is. So isolate the problem. It might be that they are practicing and they're not showing any progress and they're still struggling. So we also need to find out what that problem is. So you need to stop and really take the time to figure out what it is. Is it the notes? Is it the rhythm? So stop on each note where the mistake has occurred. So if a student has been practicing something wrong so many times, then we might need to stop them right in the middle of that piece and say, oh, hold on. You have been playing this for me for the last 3 weeks, and I'm sorry, but this note right here is wrong. That would be an instance where you would interrupt them because you don't want them to keep thinking they're playing it right. So the goal should be 3 times in a row perfectly. I don't really go by this very much, but tell them that. Tell them, hey, I want you to try to get this 3 times in a row perfectly. Give them a goal to work for. And this is all that you should be telling them to do at home. And also you can remind them, hey, go a little slower. If this one is giving you trouble, then go a little slower. All right, so moving on to your response to their statement, ... This is going to be your response. I played it perfectly at home. Why not here? So your response, you should be understanding. Allow them to relax and try again. Take them seriously and share stories about yourself. So I'll go over that again. So your response, to this statement, I played it perfectly at home. Why not here? Number 1, be understanding. Number 2, allow them to relax and try again. Number 3, take them seriously. Number 4, share stories about yourself. So it might just be that they're nervous and uptight. That's why you want to be understanding and, okay, let's just let the tension go. Just relax. I'm not here judging you. I just want to help you. And sometimes they can kind of view you as a critic, and which is totally normal and natural, but just try to get them to see that you really are there to help them and coach them, not there to just be this mean person that judges them and tells them they did terrible. So that take that seriously. When they say, I played this perfectly at home, why not here? You really do need to try to figure out what the problem is. They may be playing it wrong at home, and they just don't realize it. So you have to ask questions, and it really is relative to the student and how well and how diligent they are about practicing. They may just have practiced it once at home and saying, I played it perfectly at home, but they've only haven't practiced it enough. So you really just have to feel that out a little bit. Then next, we're moving on. Number 5 is note reading. Assume when you're teaching a new student, assume they know nothing. So don't assume just because somebody, let's say you've been teaching them for a month now. So you can sometimes just assume, or say they play another instrument even. Sometimes you can just assume, oh, you know that, and then just kind of bypass it and move on, and it kind of creates a problem later on. Number 2, teach them to play on the keyboard without looking at their hands. Number 3, use flashcards for drilling. I have an online website for that you can use for that. I can send that to you guys. Number 4, practice saying the musical alphabet forwards and backwards. That's kind of fun with little kids. And number 5, practice skipping notes and think in intervals. Try to get students to think about if they're seeing a note go from E to G and they accidentally play an E and then F instead of a G. Ask them when they're done playing, say, hey, this spot right here, can you tell me if this is a skip or a step? And they'll probably tell you the right answer. Oh, that's a skip. Okay, now I want you to tell me what those notes are. Oh, that's an E and that's a G. Okay, let's take this measure. I want you to play that for me. And usually if they have been practicing it wrong, they'll play that F and then they'll realize, oh, that's a skip. And then they'll start associating those notes. Instead of reading individual notes and just playing whatever finger comes next, they're actually seeing the gaps and the spaces in between these notes, which is intervals, and that is the best way for them to learn how to read music. They do need to know that that's a G, but they also need to know how that G relates to all these other notes. So that's a good way of working on interval reading with them. And then the actual note names comes with the more you do it, the more you analyze it, and the more you drill flashcards and games as well. Games really help too. Okay, so that pretty much covers all of the practicing, and this is a shorter video. Yay, I'm really sorry, it's super long. So let's talk about week number 3 really quickly. You've watched the YouTube videos, so now your assignments are to finish the quiz. And the next assignment is to choose a friend or sibling as a student and teach them a lesson. I just want you guys, I don't want you guys to think too hard about this, but just find somebody. And I think, since I know both of you, I know you can find a sibling. And if you don't want to teach your sibling, then maybe ask a friend. Or maybe one of your siblings' friends. And don't feel weird about it. There's nothing wrong with that. And usually if you ask somebody, hey, can I teach you, I have to do this for a class, can I teach you this, can I teach you a piano lesson? They're usually like, yeah, I'd like to learn how to play the piano if they've never played before. Or if it's a sibling, that's just maybe, hey, look through their book and then look at the next song in their book and just say, hey, I want to show you how to teach this. I have to finish this for my class. So don't make it more complicated than it has to be. It doesn't need to be like somebody off the street, and you don't have to present yourself in any weird way. Take at least 20 to 30 minutes with them and help them improve or learn a new concept. So if they are struggling with something, you can help them improve on it, or you can actually teach them something new. And I'm kind of being vague for a purpose because I want you guys to kind of just come up with something on your own. I would like for you to record this lesson, and I would like you to send it to me. Record your lesson. I would like you to watch it. Now, I know it's going to be hard to watch it, and you're going to be like, oh, I sound so dumb. But you're fine. Don't worry about it. And as you watch that, keep in mind of 3 things that you did well and 3 things that you could improve on. And you may not be able to think of anything, but I want you to try. And go ahead and send your results to me at the end of the week of week 3. All right, so that pretty much does it. We have one more lecture to do, and we will be done. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.